Hello and welcome to this podcast. This one we're going to be talking about the 10 concepts in question 1A and 1B. So they include decrypt and manger, which mean?
Decrypt is digital technology, creativity, research and planning, use of codes and conventions of existing media texts and post-production.
And manger is, Sam?
Media language, audience, narrative, genre and representation.
Indeed they are, right. So we'll start off with these 10 concept ideas with decrypt. So digital technology. So we'll start off that with digital technology is basically the new, it's taken over from analog obviously, so CDs they're in binary, whilst vinyls were analog signals. So it's basically, it's only fairly recently kicked in, since the internet launch in the late 90s. Everything's gone digital. We've used Final Cut Express for editing, and obviously we've got HD cameras as well, which are digital. They don't use tapes or anything now. It's all digital.
So creativity obviously relates to everything throughout the creation of the music video. One thing where we feel like we've been quite creative was actually in the filming process, where we've filmed shots that we didn't expect to film. For example, when we were on the bus going to Addingham, we decided that it'd be a good idea to film some shots of Rob on the bus, looking isolated, Rob being the Muse nerd. We've also used creativity in the editing process with Final Cut and experimenting with different effects and layers, and that's one advantage that holds over iMovie. So we've played about with that quite a lot, and we think we've come up with some quite good ideas from it.
The R in decrypt stands for research and planning, and this involves the stages before filming, such as researching the band, which was Muse, and we looked at things such as when it was created, who are in the band, what genre it's in, what types of music videos they tend to do and stuff like that.
Including the one for our song.
Yeah, including that. But we had to look at it as a wide range of a band as well, not just our specific song. We also, planning involved things such as storyboards and call sheets, which obviously help us a lot when you're actually at the filming stage. The final bit of research and planning is at the very early stages of this whole course, when we looked at 15 deconstructions.
Of course that links into use of conventions, which is real media text. So as Sam said, we did look at 15 existing music videos before it actually started, so that was about August time, wasn't it, really? So we kind of took a wide range, so from rock to metal to pop or whatever. So we looked at the whole range, so we had a good understanding of different genres and what techniques they use in the different genres. We also looked at digipacks, so we collected about 8 or so, probably 8, 10 existing digipacks, and they were from different genres as well. Actually mostly from within our genre and quite a lot from our subgenre, so it's quite useful for our actual digipack that we were making. And we also looked at mag ads, so we got existing ones again from Kerrang, Q and Enemy, and then we looked at them and basically did the same thing, just deconstructed and looked at what they typically use to apply to ours when we made ours.
P in decrypt stands for post-production, which relates to sort of the after you've filmed, so the editing process, but also getting the product out to your audiences. For the editing process, we've used Final Cut, which has been a different new step this year, which we used iMovie last year to edit our movie openings. So we've learned quite a lot of new skills there, how to use all the software and also how to edit a music video effectively and because it's obviously very different to any other kind of format. Get the music video out to audiences, we've used things such as YouTube, Facebook, and we've also created a Facebook and Twitter page for our video, well, for our production company. And we've actually received feedback from quite a few people on YouTube. One in particular was someone who did this course last year, so that was really helpful, and that's just one example of how we can show our work to our target audience.
Alright, so that kind of finishes off D Group, which is the first 5 concepts we're going to be talking about in this podcast. So the second 5 concepts is Manger. So I think it's Sam is going to kick off with media language, which is the M in Manger.
Media language relates to semiotics, and we've used this throughout the blogging process and also the filming process. We intentionally wanted to signify throughout the music video that the Muse Nerd's isolated, and we had to do different things throughout the music video, such as making sure we had isolated locations, and the fact some of the clothing we're about to wear just kept on signifying that because he was a Muse nerd, that's why he was so lonely, and things such as that. In the blogging process, quite recently we've done a post which took a single shot out of our music video, which is down by the river, when the Muse nerd, which is Rob, as you can see, who was stood under the bridge, and there was some graffiti on the wall, and just from that shot you could take out roughly 10 or something signified just from that shot. But obviously you don't notice all of them when it's playing through, so there's quite a few signifiers in our music video.
Alright, and the next one in Manger's audience. So there's basically 2 key audiences in our music video, which is primary and secondary. So primary is 15 to 24, and the secondary audience is 25 to 40. And the reason for this is because Origins Symmetry, which is the album the song's actually off, is just celebrating its 10th anniversary. So the people that listened to that originally are 10 years older, obviously. So it kind of applies to that. And then obviously there's the new audience, which have maybe just been introduced to Muse, or even they've just got 10 years older as well, or they're older.
The idea of rebranding this video was to make it for a youth audience. So you've got your primary audience, which is for this youth audience, which we've rebranded it for, but we've also got the secondary audience of the people who have obviously liked the music in the past and may want to see this rebranded version. The N of Manger stands for narrative, which is part of our music video. About 80% is narrative based, and there's also obviously performance and concept based. There's no concept in our video, but we've used performance as well. Narrative is very common in music videos, especially in our genre. There's normally it's basically some sort of story throughout the video, and that's what it's based on. So our narrative is, for example, the Muse nerd being isolated and away from anyone, and it just carries on throughout the video like a story.
Narrative and performance are usually used in conjunction with each other, so especially in our genre, like Wiz kind of said, because performance, if it's just performance by itself, it does get a bit boring, but they tend to mix in narrative with it. So we took the typical codes and conventions of a music video in our genre and put narrative together with performance.
The G in Manger is genre, and Muse is alternative rock. It was in the alternative rock genre, which is a sub-genre of rock. Yes, and the actual song we're doing, which is called Bliss, is in the genre of space rock and new prog, which Rob will talk about briefly.
So new prog is basically the 21st century version of prog rock, which was big in like the 70s and 80s, from like bands like Rush and Genesis sort of. So basically it's their take on, they're basically like rebranding that music to this genre, to this generation. So again, that kind of links to audience, it brings that audience to the band again. And space rock, which is obviously all like sci-fi influences mixed with rock, it's kind of in the name, which the band's like very familiar with. Quite a lot of the songs are very referenced to sci-fi things and the song names and even the titles of the actual albums as well. So that's about it for genre things. So the final letter in Manger is R, which is for representation, so we'll talk about that now. We use quite a lot of representations in our music video, so stuff like social class, gender and age. So obviously social class was kind of hinted at with him wearing like a hoodie and jeans and Converses. Location of the house scene, and also like the area that he's in, because like certain areas, specifically at that bridge, there's like all graffiti and the skate park's like run down. So we kind of have like a range of areas to hint at the social class.
His house is obviously it's not like so the house where the protagonist lives, and there's quite a few scenes based there, is sort of like a C1, which is in social class terms, so that's like upper middle class. That's like that's like upper middle class. But we sort of countered that when he's getting a bit more depressed sort of later on through the video, when he goes down to the river and he stood under the bridge and there's sort of graffiti and it's not very nice, which kind of represents more sort of DE social class. So that's how we've represented social class in our video. There's also other areas like age and gender that we've looked at and put sort of signifiers in throughout the video.
Alright, so that's about it for the 10 concept areas in Manger and Decrypt.